Hi, this is Evander Holyfield, and you are talking sports with Randy Harris.
Randy's on the sports scene, he's working all the time. Brings you all the scores you need, so get him on the line. Pick up the phone and call him now and say what's on your mind. They should pay him double, cause he's working overtime.
This is Evander Holyfield.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't think he believes it.
This is Larry Hirsch.
Greg Lamont, Jim Palmer, Tony Fernandez, Hardy Nickerson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Randy.
Bill Murphy.
My two men, Randy Savage.
Dre Nitschke.
Chris Everett.
George Foreman, and I'm talking sports with Randy Harris.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Randy Harris. I don't think he believes it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's very important you don't stink today.
The Macho Man Randy Savage, and when I want to catch up on all the sports, I listen to the Randy Harris Show. That's the bottom line.
What is going on, everybody? It is a Friday, the last Friday in August. NFL football right around the corner. Collegiate football last night and tomorrow.
Already started. Loving it. Best time of year right now.
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of football last night, but I'll get some in tomorrow with USF. Alabama plays tomorrow, I believe, on ESPN or Channel 10. Basically the same thing, isn't it?
No. A little bit different.
Owned by the same company.
What, ABC?
Yeah,
right?
Isn't Disney behind both?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
True.
I'm saying. ESPN, it's all the same thing.
I don't know. Coverage is slightly different.
It's all the same thing.
Actually, there's a really big game, top 10 matchup. Number 5, Georgia travels to number 8, Clemson. Ready, set, go.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And really, this plays out better for both teams because if you lose early, you still have a chance to come back. Mm-hmm. If you lose, and that's what always stunk about Florida State back in the day, both would be highly ranked, and whoever loses is screwed.
Because that's always the end of the year, right? That's rivalry week.
Well, Florida, there is a rivalry. Unfortunately, there is not one anymore in Alabama.
No, yeah, it's pretty one-sided right now. I'm not going to fight that one.
I figured you would, and that's why I threw it out. But I remember I had a talk once with a former Oakland Raider quarterback, and we were talking about the Raiders and everything about the Raiders. And
at what point in time? Which Raiders?
Not good Raiders. And that's when he said, well, you have to win for there to be rivalries. You have to win to be the bad guys in black. When we're not winning, then it doesn't really matter.
So when Auburn was, just to go back to that example, when Auburn was beating Alabama every year in the Iron Bowl, they won 9 in a row.
When was that?
I think that was...
Was that my lifetime?
Yeah, that was within the 2000s.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
So, I mean, that was just a segment of that rivalry. I still consider that a rivalry, though.
I mean, it is a rivalry only because the two teams hate each other so much that it doesn't even matter. Because, as you know, you could lose every game but that game.
And that's the one that matters.
Wow, it was a close game last year. 49-0.
No, it wasn't at all.
49-0.
Although they thought there was going to be a blowout when Cam Newton was the quarterback. What was it, 42-0?
I'm trying to pull up your Auburn stats just because. On Wikipedia it says the longest win streak was Alabama at 9.
Mm-hmm.
Not Auburn at 9.
Maybe it was 9 of 10 or something along those lines.
I can't believe that Auburn won 9 games, not alone beat Alabama 9 times.
They went undefeated in, 03, 04?
Yeah, what a great team that was, too.
Hey, they won.
That's true.
It doesn't matter. You have to win.
Speaking of collegiate football, Johnny Football, what a freaking joke.
Sure.
It is a joke to get
from the NCAA standpoint.
Well, from everybody's standpoint. From everybody's standpoint. Absolutely. I understand Johnny taking the suspension.
Yeah.
Just to get it over with and get it done. Whatever.
He can get back on the field, sure.
If he would have protested it, then they would have had to hold him out until everybody kissed up and made up.
Right.
But if you don't have anything on them, and they don't, this is stupider than just saying, you know what, we can't prove anything. I would have rathered the NCAA say, you know what, we have our opinions, but we can't prove anything.
Right.
Nobody's talking. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Then to say we're going to give you a half a game suspension against a team that Johnny Football was only going to play a half a game anyway.
Yeah, we're just seeing him in a different half.
Right. He was going to play the first half, and then he was going to sit the rest of the game.
Yeah, I don't think Rice has a shot.
So, just one of those, again, it's just a joke. But so is the NCAA. If you go to, from what they told me, if you go to the A&M website where it explains the suspension, but you can purchase an autographed picture. Did you know that?
You are kidding.
Not at all.
Oh, my goodness. That is fantastic.
You could purchase an autographed picture.
Okay, TexasANM.edu.
Unbelievable. And a little side note, since today's Friday, that means tomorrow is Saturday. UFC 164. And I am looking forward to this tremendously.
Which part? There's a lot to look forward to.
I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. You know, we can touch base on the undercard if you want, but the pay-per-view where Clay Guida versus Chad Mendez, I expect that to be a great fight.
Yep.
Clay is the underdog. Chad is ranked 2 or 3 or whatever he is.
He's number 1.
Well, no, he's not number 1. Ranked number 1 is the champion. So he's not ranked 1.
He's the number 1 contender.
That's not ranked 1, though. That's so he's ranked 2 or 3. Some people have him as low as 4. He's good, but and I say this all the time, you have to look at who you beat. Chad Mendez has not beat any superstar names. Granted, there's not a whole lot of superstar names in that division that the common everyday person's going to be aware of.
That's
anyway.
A fair point, yeah.
Look at who Clay beat, and I don't care if you like the way Clay beat Pettis or you don't. He beat the guy who very likely could be the 155 champion tomorrow night around midnight.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people, a lot of experts are taking Henderson, but they're taking Henderson to win a decision. And I think his decision runs are going to run out.
We say that about GSP, too.
Well, I don't say GSP's luck of winning decisions are going to run out, because they're not. GSP lays on you. GSP wins those fights.
Yeah.
You can't ever say that GSP won a fight that was controversial where we would argue that he won or he lost.
The Rays are close.
Where Benson Henderson, in my opinion, has lost 3 of those fights. The judges gave it to him. They were close. They were whatever. There's a big difference between winning decisions and squeaking out wins in decisions.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, no, GSP will never run out of winning these decisions because he wins them.
Because they're
100%, no questions asked, he wins those fights. Henderson, when he wins, 3-2, I think there was one time he won 4-1 where I thought he lost 3-2. Sooner or later, your luck is going to run out of those decisions, sooner or later. And I think that sooner could be tomorrow night.
Now, do you think that him already having the belt has any effect on if it's a close fight?
It shouldn't.
And I agree it shouldn't, but we've seen the razor thin wins for him. One fight that I remember very vividly is the first Machida Hua fight at UFC 104 in Los Angeles. That was surprisingly a 5-round decision, and it went to Machida. He had the belt at the time. There was the immediate rematch, and then Hua finished him in the next one. But with the first one, a lot of people that I was around at that time, they were saying that, well, he shouldn't have won it in the first place. He should not have, because he was worked by Hua, and the fact that he already had the belt weighed in his favor when it came to decision.
I don't think it does. At least when I judge, it doesn't come into play. Talking to some of the judges that I respect as much as I do, like a Chris Lee, they don't care who has the belt. It doesn't matter. It's red versus blue. It's not champion versus challenger. And that's one of the things that I've always hated. You have to beat the champion. No crap. Of course you have to beat the champion, but you don't have to dominate a champion.
Yeah.
You have to beat the champion by one punch. You have to beat the champion by one takedown. You have to beat your opponent. I'm not even going to say champion by one punch, by one takedown, by one aggressive move, by one whatever. I've always hated that line. You don't have to dominate a champion. You just have to beat him. And we'll see tomorrow night. If you are in the Tampa Bay area, we will have another shindig at the 4th Street Hooters in St. Petersburg. Have a box or two of swag of goodies to give away. Also, and I'm not saying who was on the program last night, but if you send in how the two people that were on the program win or lose their fight, their upcoming fight, that'll register you for some more swag as well. So, and
people can figure that out a little bit by going to the download from the website knockoutradio.com, get the podcast. You can go to the YouTube channel WTAN Sports and figure it out that way as well.
And I'll
up your chances.
Even though I shouldn't, because I had a nice little discussion with Scott Peterson, I'll send a little love this way. You can also go to MMA Weekly.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, I said, sooner or later they need to start showing us some love, and that's kind of what we did talk about just a little bit. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night closed out their preseason at 1-3. I know everybody is down on the Tampa Bay Bucs because of last night, and I'm not going to allow you to be that way. If you want to be down on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of preseason, if you want to be down on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for whatever reason, I'm okay with that. For anybody to use last night as a measuring stick, anybody to use last night for anything, we all know Game 4 of preseason means nothing.
And depending on who you talk to, games 1, 2, and 3 don't mean anything either.
They really don't.
Yeah.
They really don't. Game 3, the first half, your starters go out there, but they're still kind of feeling their way back. And I don't think, no matter what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could have, should have, would have done in the first 4 games of the preseason, they've got a long road to hoe. They've got some serious problems. Carl Nix, no idea when he'll be back. Tynes, obviously the same thing.
Yeah.
Davin Joseph says he could play, but he's not ready. He's not in game shape. He's not in game. Not shape might not be the right word. He's not in game mode.
Yeah, he's just not ready. It's not time for him yet. So.
And there's another guy who's not game ready either. He wears a number 5.
Number 5, Freeman.
Yeah, Revis could be ready for, as far as I know. Freeman, that's the concern. That's the problem. And it's a contract year.
Yeah.
Which I love. But it never fails. And this is what I've always said as well. Please be careful before we hit this break. Think about this. Players always seem to play great contract year. He hasn't played great up till now. What makes you think he's going to play any better this year?
Pull the rabbit out of the hat.
Or years down the road.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I do it. 866-TAN-1340. If you want to pick up the phone, feel free to do it. If not, we have plenty of things to talk about. Plus, legendary Tampa Bay Buccaneer Chidi Ahanotu will be on the program at the bottom of the hour to talk about this, $690 million settlement, NFL and former players. We'll get with Chidi in about 15 minutes. Right now, we'll pay a bill or 6. We'll be right back.
Folks, John Mann here, and you're talking sports with Randy Harris. I love this guy.
Is your significant other nagging you about cleaning out the garage? Or spending too much on a storage unit? Needing to sell or purchase new or used equipment for your business? PostShareSell.com is your solution. A cool and innovative way to buy, sell, or trade online. With an easy-to-use mobile phone app and built-in sharing capabilities, post a free ad in less than 60 seconds. PostShareSell.com. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post it, share it, sell it.
Randy Harris from Talking Sports and Knockout Radio for the Lockup Self-Storage. You know, one of the downfalls of living in Florida is no basement, so storage is always an issue. If you're in need of a self-storage unit, I highly recommend the Lockup. You'll be surprised how nice and safe the units and buildings are. All units are climate controlled for your valuable items, furniture, and they even have indoor boat and RV parking spaces. Call them today at 866-327-LOCK or thelockup.com. If you call today, you'll receive the first month for $1. Plus, they'll provide a moving truck and lock for free. The Lockup Self-Storage.
You're hungry. Where do you go to eat?
Berg Sports Bar and Grill.
You want to have a drink? Where do you go?
Berg Sports Bar and Grill.
Having a get-together with the guys from the softball team? Where do you do it?
That's right, Berg Sports Bar and Grill.
Located at 1320 Central Avenue, St. Petersburg, right across from Tropicana Field, Berg's is the best place to take the whole family for food and fun. Going to a Rays game? Have dinner before the game at Berg's, and after the Rays win, come and celebrate with all your friends at Berg's, right across from the Trop. So come down and see Berg and the whole gang at Berg Sports Bar and Grill.
Berg Sports Bar and Grill.
If you want to look your best, you need Mick for hair. Mick Ferrari is Tampa Bay's hairstylist to the stars. Mick has spent 25 years keeping the Bay Area beautiful and is the official hair care provider for Talking Sports. To look your best, you need to go to the best. And the best in the Bay is Mick Ferrari. For information or to book your consultation with Mick, visit his website at mickforhair.com. That's mickforhair.com. Call Mick for Hair direct at 727-573-9711. That's 573-9711.
Hi, this is Olympic gold medalist Christy Yamaguchi, and you're talking sports with Randy Harris.
Hey, let's go back to the Talking Sports Show.
All right, I looked it up real quick on Wikipedia, and it is fairly close. Alabama has the lead 42-34-1. One tie, 42-34. The longest run I believe Auburn had was 6 years from 02 to 07.
Okay. And then how many did Bama have?
9
in a row.
Yeah.
So they're currently on their tear.
Well,
and they're gonna continue going.
Yeah,
too.
but they're not currently on a tear right now. They've won twice, and I believe Auburn won in 2010. Alabama's won the last 2 years.
That was the Newton year.
Right. So Alabama's won 4 of the last 5.
Yeah.
And Auburn's won 2, 4, 6, 7 of the last 11.
Okay. It's just like anything else. Sports, they tend to be cyclical. You have your up years, you have your down years.
Sure.
This is just part of it. So.
All right, let's kill.
Same thing with Red Sox, Yankees. Same thing with I'm sure over the long term, Rays, Red Sox, Rays, Yankees.
And that's very true because a lot of times people don't consider Rays a rivalry like they do the Yankees and Red Sox, and they really should. Because, for the past, 5-6 years, they have been competitive. And as long as you're competitive, as long as you can go in there and win games, as long as you can go in there and you're expected to win games, then it's a rivalry. Speaking of rivalry, one of your favorite people on the line. So get ready. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Hey, Randy, pretty good. I was wondering if you and Wegs have any predictions for the Bucs this year. Gruden said that they're going to win the NFC South. I think it's going to be another down year for the Bucs.
Yeah, I think Gruden just finished shooting his Hooters commercial, and that's he might have tipped 1 or 2 back. That's alleged because the Buccaneers will not win the division. And I seriously doubt the Buccaneers will even make the playoffs, even though one guy did pick it. I saw it online. Give me your pick there, Wegs.
No, I think they have an okay shot as long as we start to get some of the bigger names back and healthy. That was one thing that I was saying a lot earlier in the offseason was, with all the moves, they're going to be great. They're definitely going to make the playoffs, this, that, the other. But since it hasn't progressed the way I thought it would, that's a lot harder to pick. But I'll still say they have a good shot at making the playoffs, but they won't win the South.
I don't see the playoffs. I don't see it, and I'm pulling up their schedule real quick. And, everybody's picking, except for this one guy who picked Tampa, everybody's picking the Atlanta Falcons to win the division.
They're hard to beat.
Now, I did speak to somebody who played in the NFL, and as I said that same thing, he's like, everybody's forgetting that the line of the Falcons are not very good, the offensive line. So if they continue to put up the numbers they're going to probably put up, it'll be interesting. There'll be high-scoring games. I expect the Saints to be better.
You would think they would at least be better because that continuity has returned and the relationship between Breeze and Peyton, and for that matter, the rest of the team and Peyton. We'll see how much last year affects them in the long term, but Yeah, you'd imagine they'd be better.
All right, let's just do it month by month, or we'll do it like the great John Gruden used to say in quarters. Let's look at the first quarter of the season.
Gotcha.
The Buccaneers open up in New York.
I think that's a win.
I think it could be a win. I mean, it's a winnable game.
It's definitely winnable.
I'm not going to say it is a win. It is a winnable game. But then you open up with the Saints. And again, I know it's an iffy, and granted, it is at home. All right. But still, a lot of question marks there because of the Saints. Then you go back up to New England and play the Patriots. I don't even think we need to talk about it.
Right.
And then you play the Cardinals in Arizona. No, the Cardinals are at home. I'm sorry. Again, if this game was in Phoenix, I'm saying the Cardinals are going to win the game. Questions unasked.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting game because a lot of people are picking the Cardinals as that sleeper team.
What are they basing that on?
Everything and anything. New quarterback, the new players they brought in.
I don't know. I think that's another winnable game here. So let's say I'll be optimistic. I'll say they start the season 2-2.
All right. If that's at best what I think they can do.
Yeah.
At best, they're going 2-2. They're not beating the Patriots any day, anytime, even if Tebow plays. It's just not going to happen. Now,
if Tebow's on the team.
Well, I'm saying, even if he plays. Now, the one thing that I do like with this Buccaneer schedule is this. The winnable games, the questionable winnable games are at home.
So a little bit of schedule love.
Right, some schedule love. It adds. You get 3 points for playing at home. Again, I think if the Buccaneers flew to Phoenix on the 29th to play the Cardinals, they don't win that game.
That's a lot of traveling, too, early in the season. That sucks.
New York and New England. I mean, it's 2 games in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking, then they're home, then they're away, then they're home, then they're away, then they're home for 2, or away for 2, then home for 2. No, vice versa. They're home for 2 and then away for 2. They have a fairly tough schedule in the fact that they play the 49ers again at home. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I don't think it matters in this.
I don't think it matters at all. But I've still never really understood this. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to enough players about it, and they give me their spiel and whatever. The travel. I don't see how the travel really affects the game. You fly out on Saturday. It's not like you're in cramped middle seats. They're still well taken care of. But let's go to that game against the 49ers that is home. If it was on the road and all that travel that they complain about, then they still have 2 more games after that.
Yeah.
Again, some schedule love there. They have the Niners at home. They have the Bills at home. Then they go to the Rams. For their travel woes, St. Louis is a whole lot easier to get to than obviously San Francisco. Oh, and Rob, thank you for the call.
Yes, definitely.
Do you want to give a number? 8-8, 9-7? Let's do it next week.
Yeah.
Let's do it next Friday.
Let's give them a week.
Well, again, it's still 9 days out. I hate, just kind of like fights, I hate to say, well, they're going to go 9-7, and then Doug Martin has issues, and he doesn't play for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It will present some problems.
We don't know. Nix and or Tynes may return in that amount of time. They may have healed up and gotten past this MRSA issue. That might be a factor. Revis, there might be some clarity on his situation and his return. At this time, there's a lot of variables still up in the air.
Before Chidi Ahanotu comes on at the bottom of the hour, and I don't know if you have an opinion or if you really want to talk about it before Chidi comes on, but any thoughts on this agreement with the NFL and the NFL Players Association?
I thought there was going to be more money. To me, I think the final out the door number is
$690.
I thought it was $765.
Okay, right.
I think $690-ish. That goes towards a certain. Let me see, because I thought I had this up there. Okay. The purpose of it is going to compensate victims, pay medical exams, and underwrite research. And I think the biggest chunk goes to paying medical bills and whatnot. But there's over 18,000 retired NFL players. how many of them have had issues they haven't told any about. Then there's all the ones that have been documented. That just seems like not enough money to take care of all of that. And another thing I thought was interesting was one of the principal terms of the settlement is that the agreement, quote, cannot be considered an admission by the NFL of liability or an admission that plaintiffs' injuries were caused by football. To me, that is the NFL saying it's not our responsibility.
Well, that's exactly what they're saying. But my thing is this. Isn't this lawsuit very similar to somebody who smokes 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and then when they're 55, they then sue because they have cancer?
It's like somebody who spills hot coffee on them from McDonald's, and they sue because they were the ones that dropped hot coffee on them, and they didn't realize it was hot.
And both times they did get money.
Yeah, they won.
Don't you expect concussions? Don't you expect brutal collisions in the NFL, in mixed martial arts, I'm trying to think of other combat, in hockey? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's part of the game.
I think that the NFL or any organization should be responsible to help these athletes later on in life. Mm-hmm. I don't think once you're done playing, it's right to, wash your hands and, you're no longer our responsibility. But we will find out all the details, or at least a lot of the details, from your former franchise player, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chidi Ahanotu. So that's right around the corner. We'll try to stay on schedule, so we'll hit this break. When we come back, more shenanigans. We are brought to you by PostShareSell.com. Check their website out. If you have some stuff to get rid of, you need to clean up the garage, you need to clean up your storage, that is the place to do it, PostShareSell.com. If you don't want to sell it, but you want to put it away, you want to put it in storage, hit those guys up at Lockup Self Storage. It's located right by the Trop, downtown St. Pete. And our newest sponsor, XCOM Global. It allows us to be able to broadcast live from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world with their internet access. 3 great companies now on board talking sports. We'll be right back.
Is your significant other nagging you about cleaning out the garage? Or spending too much on a storage unit? Needing to sell or purchase new or used equipment for your business? PostShareSell.com is your solution. A cool and innovative way to buy, sell, or trade online. With an easy-to-use mobile phone app and built-in sharing capabilities, post a free ad in less than 60 seconds. PostShareSell.com. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post it, share it, sell it.
Randy Harris from Talking Sports and Knockout Radio for the Lockup Self Storage. One of the downfalls of living in Florida is no basement, so storage is always an issue. If you're in need of a self-storage unit, I highly recommend the Lockup. You'll be surprised how nice and safe the units and buildings are. All units are climate controlled for your valuable items, furniture, and they even have indoor boat and RV parking spaces. Call them today at 866-327-LOCK or thelockup.com. If you call today, you'll receive the first month for $1. Plus, they'll provide a moving truck and lock for free. The Lockup Self-Storage.
Check out our friends at West Chase Golf Club, just north of the airport off the Veteran Expressway, for a beautiful and challenging course. I've been out there many times, and the greens are great. Quiet, upscale, but very public. West Chase is consistently ranked in the top 10 nationally and number 1 in the state of Florida for customer service by the National Golf Foundation. Ask about the Advantage Card. Just $25 for Florida residents, and you'll get up to 40% off your greens fees, free use of the GPS system, and a bunch more. Log on to westchasegc.com for more. West Chase Golf Club. It's not private. You'll just think it is.
Yo, Monkey Boy. Yo, what's up? This is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, and you're talking sports with Randy Harris. Diamond Dallas Page is going to make you feel the bang.
Hey, let's go back to the Talking Sports Show.
All right, Chidi Ahanotu scheduled to be on the program here in a few minutes. As I'm reading up on the press release, it is individual awards will be capped at $5 million for men who have or developed Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, or other severe impairments. $4 million for those diagnosed with CTE after their deaths, and $3 million for players with dementia.
I don't know. I can see it adding up to more than that. Again, I don't understand that.
It's similar.
I'm lost in
it's
it.
similar to the Johnny Football thing. this is what they both were able to agree on. The little bit that I read up on, the former Players Association was afraid if they go to court, how much of that money, A, will they get, and B, how much is going to go to attorneys? How much is, so if you get a $200 million, well, 40% goes to the attorney. So at least this is a way to get something. I was a little concerned as I read up. The NFL has 20 years to pay the full amount of the settlement. But half of the total must be paid within the first 3 years. So at least some of it,
front-loaded.
And again, I'm not quite sure that's enough. Have to be paid in the first 3 years, and then they can, go slowly over the next 17 years.
Well, they can certainly afford it, too. I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar a year business, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be difficult for them to do it. That's a little bit long, 20 years. Now, are they saying 20 years because it's going to take a long time for symptoms to develop and they need to make sure there's still at least some money coming in over that length of time? And also, who is this paid to? Is this paid directly to the individual players, or is this paid to the players' union and then they dole it out to who deserves it?
Again, some of these things I can't answer. Obviously, Chidi Ahanotu can. We are trying to get them down. These guys always tend to screen calls.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that they know what number, it's coming from. The equipment manufacturer, Riddell, is still a plaintiff in another case that just has nothing to do with that. Players that were involved in the suit, this award will be effective for everyone. Now, I want to think about this, but here's my first kind of response. All right, and I'm always taught, think before I speak, and I'm trying to think this out, and I know that I'm going to get blasted for this, but
it's okay.
I would rather the money go to players that are suffering right now,
right,
than to family members of players that are deceased.
I understand where you're coming from, and I can see why you had trepidations in saying that. But that makes sense because that's who's going to be hopefully able to be helped the quickest, the most in the immediate future. There's only so much that can be done once an individual has died if they had any of the earlier impairments that you mentioned in the press release.
Well, also in the press release, it's saying that they believe, the former players believe, the suicide of Junior Seau had a lot to do with this as well. Had a lot to do with the NFL getting this done fairly quickly.
I believe that.
I need to call my attorney.
Well,
I need to know what I can and can't say.
Well, okay. So you don't think this would have happened as quickly if that had not happened?
I don't know. I don't know. So they're saying because Junior Seau was such a big name that committed suicide, that's what pushed him over the end, not some of the other players that have committed suicide in the past, not some of the other players that have had issues. And again, we all know where I stand with suicide.
Sure.
So no, it's still not going to change my opinion. Obviously, there are things wrong with anybody who commits suicide.
Something's up.
Something is up that they just can't handle, and whatever. I would just hate to see. God, I better be careful with this.
Tiptoe.
God, I am.
Tiptoe.
I'm walking on some real thin ice here. I would hate to see the name and the legacy of Junior Seau be the martyr of this whole situation after he went, in my opinion, the easy way out.
Right. And something you brought up earlier, his name versus the number of other players who went the same route, who didn't get the same press, I'll say. Recognition is the wrong word to use, but because they weren't as well known,
Former NFL linebacker Gary Plummer, a former teammate of Seau's, told USA Today that he believes Seau's death was a contributing factor for the league to settle this lawsuit. Had a high-profile player like Junior not committed suicide, I don't think this settlement would have happened.
High-profile player.
So
3 big words right there.
Right. So he is going to be that. The name Junior Seau will be a martyr of this case, and it's a shame. It's a shame that somebody had to do that for this to happen. But also, it's a shame that that's what you're going to hang your hat on.
Yeah.
The fact that a high profile, and I think it's a slap in the face to non-high profile players.
Absolutely. Because they should be taken just as seriously as any other player, regardless of where they're at in their careers, how long they've played, how well they've played, what teams they've played for. Are they a Hall of Fame caliber or not after they retire? Doesn't matter. Shouldn't matter. It's a human life. So, and they most likely would have gotten these issues due to what they were doing in the NFL. So NFL has a responsibility to them.
Not that I really want to go from one bad story to another, but are you up on Kardashian's arrest?
Mr. Khloe Kardashian?
Yes, Mr. Lamar Kardashian.
Yeah.
Arrested for DUI. Didn't he just go on that drug binge and all that stuff as well?
Yeah, and I guess there was a fight between Mr. and Mrs. Kardashian, and he left. Nobody knew where he was. Then there was the issues with, I think it was PCP, some drug, some very hard drug. And now he was arrested on the 101 and likely was on the drug, but he was definitely intoxicated with alcohol. It's just one thing after another, and I don't see him coming out of it, honestly.
Yeah, definitely should be interesting.
He was already a free agent.
I caught myself because I was going to say, on a high note, today, 25 years ago today, was the start of Oral Hershiser's scoreless streak.
Oh, cool. Interesting little factoid there.
A little Friday, August 30th, the beginning of Big OH's Major League record-setting 59 consecutive scoreless innings.
Do you think anybody will ever get that?
You know, I
know it's a
I hate the word never. I hate hypotheticals. I hate the word I'm sorry and I apologize, and I hate what ifs. I remember people saying there'll never be another Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Will there? Won't there? I don't know, but LeBron's pretty damn close.
Right.
You know, and where's all our friends that are always on LeBron? Did you see LeBron's deal that he has back in Akron?
No.
Where he donates bicycles to the kids in school after they complete, I think it was the 3rd grade, and he goes into the class, and everything that he does, everybody loves to get on him for things that they think, but nobody ever gives them what's due, you know, that they don't know. But, all right, let's go back. We've been talking about it for the past half an hour, and now we're going to get some of those answers, you know, that I obviously couldn't answer and that's not in the press releases. One of the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all time and knows a lot about this this settlement with the NFL, Mr. Chidi Ahanotu. Chidi, how are you?
I'm good, Randy. How you doing?
We appreciate your time. I know you're doing the media circuit talking about this, so fill us in a little bit. Are you surprised that a settlement has been made and disappointed in the number?
I was shocked to see that it popped up, and you know there's no lead up to that point. We've been involved with a number of different lawsuits against the NFL, so there was really no lead up to it. So it was surprising in that regard, but overall, just thought that because of the bad PR that this whole case is presenting, that it would be resolved sooner than later, and that they would want to get this off the books so that they can have a free and clear season, because they already dealt with this last season. So, and as far as the number, I think the dollar amount is too low. I really do. And, but it's so many different nuances to it, Randy, that you actually have to dive into the details because it could be $9 billion That number could be $9 billion. But if the players can't access it, then it's no good for anybody.
Now, let me ask you this, and then we'll touch base on, in the press release, it says the NFL has 20 years to pay it off, with half of it being paid up in the first 3 years. But let me ask you the one negative question that people have been asking me, and obviously I can't answer it. This lawsuit sounds a lot like, and I know, Alex, you and I mentioned this, when somebody smokes for X amount of years and then they're suing the tobacco company, or the lady that spilled her hot coffee on herself and sued McDonald's. Why is this lawsuit different from all of those?
Randy, honestly, I don't think it's the same, and I've heard that comparison made. But I think it's different because in this situation, we were told that, I can see the similarities, honestly, Randy, that that we were told the same thing, that it was, safe for us to wear these helmets and that it would protect us, and all the while, they knew that it wasn't. They had information and their research that said that it was not safe, and they knew about the damages to the brain that can happen long term. So, in that regard, I do think that there are similarities.
Now, one of the things that I brought up earlier in the program was that one of the principal terms of this deal in the agreement is that, quote, it cannot be considered an admission by the NFL of liability or an admission that plaintiff's injuries were caused by football. Just what are your thoughts on the NFL's blatant lack of taking responsibility?
Well, I think that's what it was all about for them, as far as trying. Their main objective was to remove the culpability aspect of it. Like I said, it's a PR nightmare, hurts the brand, and it just doesn't look good. So I think this amount of money that they had to pay is a drop in the bucket, especially when you talk about spreading it over 20 years. For them, that's nothing. But it's a business. It's a business, and they have a brand and a shield to protect, and it's not surprising that that's the number one objective for them, which is to remove any responsibility that they may have had from this thing. And I think that in itself led to the thing getting settled, because they wouldn't want a drawn out, court battle, and it's all in the media. That's the worst thing that could happen to them.
Chidi, we were asked this earlier, and again, don't know the answer, and that's why thank you very much for coming on and addressing some of these issues. When the money is paid, and of course we still don't know when and how that's going to be paid, how do you players get it? How will you get access to it so that it can help with the issues and problems that you guys have?
Well, see, that's what we're waiting to hear. We're waiting to hear that as well, Randy, and that's what I say. There could be $9 billion in that account if we can't access it, and then it's no good the deal is no good for us players. And what I'm hearing right now, I do know certain things or which way they're headed, but honestly, Randy, we were advised by attorneys that it's still confidential, so I cannot even mention what I do know at this point.
I got you. Now, I know that the settlement said players that are involved in the issue, as well as players that haven't been named. Will that be a problem down the road if then players come out and say, well, I have these issues as well? Will whoever be running this allow everybody to now attach to this, or is it going to be that'd be a nightmare as well?
Yeah, the spirit of the deal is to enable all players to participate in this thing, not just the guys who had their names on the lawsuit, but how that's going to effectively be done when you have a cap at a certain amount of dollars. We're going to get into a situation where the money runs out, and that's another issue. These things are still being ironed out. I think you asked me if I was surprised that this thing came out this early, Randy. I think there's so many more details that need to be ironed out that I think this was maybe a strategically a strategic media release. Since the season's about to start, And so this could take a little pressure off of them because there's so many more details left to be ironed out that it seems kind of premature that they even announced this thing.
Now, I know that Riddell's not involved in this particular agreement, and they'll be, down the road. But can you talk about how much equipment has changed over the years? And, we don't have to go all the way back to the leather helmets and before the face mask and all that stuff. But, in the last 10 or 15 years, has the equipment got better for you players?
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned Riddell, Randy, because actually our group is actually suing them as well. And that lawsuit is still in the works. So we actually are the one, there are a lot of factions to this thing, but our group is actually one of the groups that is the only group actually that sued that company as well as the NFL along with this concussion complaint. But to answer your question, the helmets have definitely changed and gotten better. My middle son is playing. He's playing Pop Warner, and I'm out trying to get the best equipment possible for him to protect him. And he's at a greater advantage than I was because he's empowered with a lot of knowledge. He's empowered with the knowledge of what, football can do. So he's going to go out and get the best helmet as opposed to just putting, any old helmet on his head. You see what I'm saying? Sure. So the equipment has definitely gotten better. I just bought them some shoulder pads yesterday, and they're better than any shoulder pads I ever had. And the helmets as well. I mean, they have these special helmets that are actually designed to prevent concussions as best as they can. So it's night and day compared to the equipment that we had.
Going back to the money real quick for those.
Why is it always
involved?
about money with you?
Pointing the finger at me? What? And I apologize if this is one of those little details that just hasn't been ironed out yet, but is there a way from the player's side of this lawsuit to protect the money that has been allocated from anybody that would want to add their name to this pool of players when they possibly did not get a concussion during their playing time, and they could be saying they have symptoms even though they don't because they want a little chunk.
Chidi, let me just add something to that, and let me ask you this. Is it really impossible to say that a player that played in an NFL football game, a 60-minute game, wouldn't get a concussion at some point in that game?
Well, no, and that's what we're learning, that even, the normal hits that we were having, even me as a defensive lineman, every time I got off the ball, I'm hitting the offensive lineman head-to-head pretty much. So they're saying even those are forms of concussional hits. So no, I mean, you can't go throughout a game without some kind of damage to your brain, and right. That's what we're finding out. So, but this how players are going to access money is going to be determined by a number of different factors, and like I said, some of it's confidential right now, so I can't, advise not to speak on the details because it's still being ironed out. But there'll be different factors and medical evaluations as well as other factors as far as each individual player's particular situation. So it might not even all be, hey, let's actually see how many concussions he had. You see what I'm saying? Because how can you even determine that?
Well,
so those things are still being ironed out, but there are going to be a number of different factors that will enable a player to access the money and qualify for the money.
And maybe I didn't ask it, properly, but that's kind of what I was saying, Chidi, is the fact that I find it hard to believe that anybody could step foot on a football field and make one play, not a lone play for 60 minutes, and not have some form of head injury, some form of a concussion, that down the road, enough of those little bangs are going to be a major, serious problem for a player down the road.
Say that one more time, Randy.
What I'm saying is I find it hard to believe, and I'm agreeing with what you said. If you're playing an NFL football game, a collegiate football game, enough hits, whether it's a major concussion or not, it's still going to be some form of brain damage to a player playing in a professional football game.
Right, definitely. And that's what we're finding out with all the research and medical advances that, those helmets are not protecting the brain, and even with the newer helmets, they don't prevent it 100%. And there's a certain level of brain damage happening every time you hit helmet to helmet. Maybe not even helmet to helmet to knee.
Right.
So that's just what we're understanding, that it's part of the game. So, how do you? At least we know. That's the good thing. At least we know that what is actually happening to the human body and to the human brain, and it can be addressed.
And one that you didn't mention and we didn't mention earlier, how about helmet to ground?
Yeah, you got the helmet to ground. I mean, anything that, there's a lot of things you can hit your head on, especially playing football, that can cause that brain damage. So it is very highly unlikely that you leave a game and not have some level of brain damage that occurred.
And we are talking to Chidi Ahanotu, one of the best Bucks to ever grace Raymond James Stadium. Another question: with the way things have been going with rulings in the NFL with the head hits, do you feel that this is going to end up leading to more injuries, more leg injuries, with people trying to hit lower and end up doing the same process later on down the road, just with legs instead of concussions?
Yeah, and we're already seeing that, and it's the hot topic now, the guys, taking out people's knees and endangering players' careers by taking their knees out. So I think that's a byproduct and unexpected, as far as from the NFL Rules Committee, byproduct of this new rule, as far as not hitting helmet to helmet and not hitting the defensive player. But they're already addressing that, and I'm sure by next off season it'll be legal to hit the guy's knees. So people are complaining about that. I still think there's a big target, a big area left on the human body to hit. Myself personally, you got anywhere below the head and above the knee. I see that as a lot of players and former and current are complaining about it, but myself, I don't really see that as a hindrance to playing the game. I don't think I hit a bunch of guys at their knees when I played, and I played 12 years. I can't say I didn't hit anybody in the head, but I did that a number of times probably. But, it still leaves their whole body left for you to hit. So, these guys are professionals, and things are moving very fast out there, and it's a violent game. But as a professional, you can adjust your game and tweak your game and make the necessary adjustments. We're all about trying to keep each other healthy out there. It's a violent game, but if we can do it, then I think everybody should be on board. I think everybody should be on board on that.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to get you back on sooner than later to discuss more about this as the information is released or leaked out or whatever that we can talk about, and when the attorneys give you guys the permission. And I still say, I tell you this on Facebook, I tell you this on the radio, when we've had you on, you definitely need your own radio show.
You hook it up, Randy. I'll make it happen.
Chidi, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Chidi Ahanotu, everybody, a legend back in the day, former Buck, franchise player. And the thing I like about Chidi is Chidi speaks his mind. Chidi speaks what he believes, and you got to like that. And I kind of feel I do the same thing, whether it's right or wrong.
That's true.
You got to say what you believe.
Yeah.
There's so many radio shows that people say what fans want to hear, or they purposely say things that fans don't want to hear.
To create the conflict, to get people to call in or whatever the reason.
Exactly. We only got about 6 minutes left. I know you have a list of topics. Anything else you'd like to touch base on?
Yeah, we haven't
we run out of time?
Talked much about baseball at all yet.
When's the season start?
Nice.
I know you're a baseball guy. I know you love baseball.
I live, breathe, and die baseball.
But how much more successful seasons would Major League Baseball have if they played a football schedule?
They wouldn't.
I think they would. I think they would. I think the problem with Major League Baseball is there's too many damn games.
I'm not going to disagree with there being too many games.
There's no excitement. Because if you don't go today, you can go tomorrow. If they lose today, they play tomorrow.
A football schedule is too short.
Well, obviously.
For that type.
Obviously, you can't have a Major League Baseball schedule for 16 games. But how about if you did it a little different, kind of like hockey?
You could cut it in half.
That's
80 games.
I would much rather have a 42-game home schedule where now it means something to go to those games. Now they're only home for 42 games, not 81. It's just I think baseball's way too long, and I lose interest covering it. I lose interest watching it until, of course, the playoffs and the World Series. Well, let's have one-game playoffs.
I'm okay with that.
So am I.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of playoffs, currently Boston's in the lead for the AL East still. They're 79-56. Rays went on a little bit of a losing streak here recently. They lost 3 in a row. They
still got the top seed wild card, don't they? Or did Oakland take that? Okay.
They are still number 1 in the wild card. They are 75-57. Oakland is actually number 2 in the wild card, half game back. And
correct me if I'm wrong. ESPN Tampa, but I'll say it properly. The Tampa Bay Rays. They go to Oakland.
They are in Oakland today.
Yeah.
That's the first game of the series. So this is going to be actually, who would have thought, pivotal series in the season at this point, Tampa Bay going to Oakland.
You mentioned it at the beginning of the program, though, when you were talking about some other college football team in Alabama, about, the cycles.
Yeah.
Because back when I was younger, the Oakland A's were the team.
Yeah.
They were your World Series champs. They were in the playoffs. They were, the stud team. So it is kind of cool to see it go full cycle.
The resurgence.
And to see the Oakland A's back.
But it's weird because they don't have the same superstar power that they did back then. Because you're talking, I'm assuming, about Bash Brothers. You're talking about Ricky Henderson. You're talking about Reggie Jackson. Big names. All-stars. How many Hall of Famers? So when it comes down to it, they are doing the small ball, the money ball thing, the same thing that the Rays have been doing and succeeding with. And it's good to see 2 small market teams. Well, is Oakland considered small market?
Yeah.
To see 2 small market teams be able to be fighting out for a significant playoff spot.
I love Major League Baseball trying to throw their weight around, coming down and saying that other teams are getting tired of funding, teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, the new stadium. They're not going to get a new stadium. I just don't see the new stadium. And unfortunately, the only thing this Tampa Bay Rays team is going to be able to do is move. I don't think it's going to happen before the contract is up, but I think the Rays will leave to the Tampa Bay area. I don't think the Rays will ever go ESPN to Tampa. I just bitched about, the brand new sports channel, Fox Sports 1. After the fight the other night, I left it on as I was doing my picks and doing my my power rankings and such. And, and their experts were talking about Major League Baseball and how Tampa. It's not a big deal because everybody's like, Randy, why do you make such a big deal out of it? Well, it bothers me because they don't play in Tampa. And it's one thing if Joe Nobody doesn't understand sports, but for ESPN, for Fox Sports 1, for Fox Sports Net, for Fox Sports locally, for Channel 10, for Channel 8, we all know that the Tampa Bay Rays, they're the Tampa Bay Rays. I've never heard the Tampa Bay Buccaneers called the Tampa Bucks.
Fair point.
I've never heard the Tampa Bay Lightning say the Tampa Lightning. Now, yeah, they play in Tampa, but it just bothers me because it's the name of the team. If they were the Clearwater Rays, then damn it, call them the Clearwater Rays. Why would you call them the Tampa Rays when they're the Clearwater Rays? It's just, I don't know, unprofessional. It's
true. I will say one thing I found interesting. A friend of mine from high school, he had shared a link from Four Letter Network, and it was actually Bob Ryan, one of the Boston columnists and ESPN contributor, who was calling out Rays fans for not supporting their team considering what they've done, considering everything that Coach Madden has done and what the higher up leadership is put on the field. And my comment on the link was, so where is he wrong in any of these comments? And no response. So, I mean, I think it just goes to show you people in this area, they just don't support the team the way they should, stadium or not.
But because they don't support, the Tampa Bay area doesn't really support the Tampa Bay Lightning. The year that they went on that awesome run and then won the Stanley Cup, there were tickets available even for the Stanley Cup finals.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was 2004?
Yeah, I think it was. It is what it is. This community likes sports. They don't love sports. They don't die by sports. And it's just the way it is. There's just so many other things. All right. Well, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's time for us to get out of here. Blake Shelton tonight at whatever the place is called this week. And then, of course, UFC 164 tomorrow. The University of South Florida kicks off tomorrow. There is so much going on in the Tampa Bay area. The food trucks are in Tampa today and tomorrow. Go out and enjoy the weekend. It is a holiday, Labor Day weekend this weekend, so enjoy it. We'll be back next week. This is Talking Sports, brought to you by PostShareCell.com, XCOM Global, and, of course, our new buddies up at Lockup Self Storage. Have a good weekend.